Good morning, and welcome back to another episode of From the Ground Up, real-time issues with real-time solutions for MWBE businesses, sponsored by queenstrategy.com. We're excited that we can bring this collaboration of three businesses who came together to understand how we can service the marketplace, especially MWBEs. And we have this opportunity to bring you this show with real-time issues and solutions in the midst of COVID-19 and how we're dealing with our response and how our businesses can still grow and thrive amidst all of what we see happening around us. So it's a joy to welcome you to our show today. My name is Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant. Our other partner, Nicole Valentine, Esquire, is a part of our trifecta. I have Danielle Douglas here with Inspire Enterprise, who is the magic behind the show, making it happen each day so that we can have great dialogue, but most importantly, give you great information. So I'm going to turn it over to Danielle, who's going to explain a little bit about the flow of our show today.
Thank you, Stacie. Much appreciated. So today's topic is how to bring your business to connect with your customer. Are you having trouble with your brand? And we thought this would be a great topic. We are excited again about bringing you a great guest today, MSWineglass, and I'm going to share more about who Brendes is. But the reason why we thought this would be an important topic is because, as we shared with you during our first webinar, during this time, it is really about how, as a business owner, you're going to pivot. And one of the critical areas that business owners need to pivot is marketing. You know, how are you connecting with your customers during this time, in spite of the fact that you may not be able to physically engage with them? You know, just from more personal experience, Stacie and I and Nicole, we had to think about that. And that is how this show, From the Ground Up, real-time issues with real-time solutions, was born. Because we wanted to, one, still provide our client base, MWBEs, critical information that they can use and that can positively impact for them to survive and thrive during this time. And I'm sure that you are really thinking about ways that you can also continue to connect with your customer base to really provide them impact, solutions, so that when COVID-19 is done with, that you have continued to build your community and demonstrate your subject matter expertise to your clients. So with that said, that's really the purpose of today's show. And so I'm going to introduce our subject matter expert today, MSWineglass, MSWineglass. She is a project manager, she's a creative strategist, and she's a social broker. She's also a native New Yorker and a Howard University graduate. And MSWineglass is a dedicated and proven leader with professional experience across the healthcare, tech, media, arts, and non-for-profit industries. She's the founder of Power Social Events, a networking dinner series with the purpose of encouraging intergenerational conversation and effective networking. Upon graduation, MSWineglass elected to expand her horizons and launching a diverse career, excelling in the areas she was most passionate about. MSWineglass' drive is to expand her career, and she has brought her expertise to organizations like Black Enterprise, holding a pivotal role as events producer and also independently coordinating events and working with top-tier brands, celebrities, and community leaders alike. These successful experiences strengthened her capacity to build relationships and connect leaders, companies, and consumers through life-changing events like COVID-19 across the nation. And since 2016, MSWineglass has been leading communities of Caribbean and multicultural descent to one of strength and stability through several impressive initiatives. And she has secured several hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants and donations from some of the nation's top companies like Goldman Sachs and Con Edison, respectively, and has leveraged those funds into a large-scale small business improvement projects and neighborhood revitalization programs in Barbados, Dubai, UAE, Jamaica, Queens, and the East Harlem 125th Street corridor. Ms. Wineglass also serves as the New York City Director for Walker's Legacy and is the Vice Chair to the Board of Directors for Community Mediation Services of NYC, and is the Executive Board Member of the Howard University Alumni Club of Greater New York, and is a 2018 Arts Commissioning Producer with the Queen's Council, a 2018 Innovative Cultural Fellow, and a member of influential organizations such as Forbes, The Culture, Google Partners, Black Women of Influence, ColorCom, Silicon Harlem, and Black Tech Women. And she has been a thought leader and advocate in the areas of civic engagement, art and culture, economic prosperity, entrepreneurship, leadership and development, health and technology. And Ms. Wineglass continues to build her legacy of giving back to the younger generations. So that was a mouthful, but without further ado, we present you Ms. Wineglass.
Well, look, it's Black Girl Magic, Danielle. You know, I to give her props, and just knowing Brendez all these years and see how she continues to just blossom and do the daggone thing. We just have to celebrate you and welcome you to the show. And before you say hello, I just want to shout out Sherry Diamond and Valerie Stevens who are watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you share this video today. We want you to share all our shows and stay connected with us at queenstrategy.com. Follow us on Instagram, Queen Strategy, as well as our page on Facebook. But today's show is really going to be important for a lot of businesses. So you want to make sure you press the share button now and let people know that we are live and we have Ms. Wineglass up in the building. So I want to make sure that folks get an opportunity to really delve into the conversation. And then we have a special segment today. It's the hot seat with another special guest who's going to get some laser coaching on the spot. So this is a show that you want to share and you want to make sure you let people know from the ground up is live once again this Tuesday morning. So over to Ms. Wineglass to say hello, and then we're going to jump into the questions with Danielle.
So good morning, everyone. Danielle, thank you for that introduction. I think sometimes when you're sprinkling Black girl magic everywhere, you start to forget all the magic you've been spreading. So I am grateful for that reminder. I'm energized to be with everyone this morning, and I'm looking forward to helping everyone expand on their brand and pivot out of COVID, becoming the millionaires and billionaires that I know that we're all set out to be. So we're living in divine times, interesting times, but pressure makes diamonds. And so I'm looking for all the beautiful jewelry that will come out of this. So that's that. Good morning, everyone.
I like that, Brendez. I like the way you said that.
Mm-hmm. Pressure makes diamonds. And honey, you know I'm going
yeah. And you know what you pretty much said, right? Out of crisis is opportunities. And with that said, business owners, they have such an opportunity to really demonstrate how they could bring solutions to their customers. And that is also an opportunity for them to build or continue to build on their brand. So we want to just start with a very simple question, but it really lays the foundation of our discussion today. And that is really, what is brand identity?
Okay, great. So it's a great start. Brand identity essentially are the visible elements of a brand that describe and express what you're offering. Your brand identity is your promise to your customers. So essentially, whatever that looks like emotionally, whatever that looks like in service, whatever that looks like in aesthetic and product, it's the promise you make your customers that you're going to deliver on. So that essentially is brand identity: color, aesthetics, font, voice, tone, information. All of that is brand identity.
So then I love that as all the different pieces. And of course, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it. But how would you explain what are the essential components of a brand? Because before the last decade or so, people really saw brands as just a big box store. They didn't see themselves as a brand. And then the conversation started evolving into you as a person being a brand in addition to your company and the things that you're doing. So how would you really break down for someone, what are the essential components of the brand? Because as the kids say, you know, folks are out here trying to be YouTube famous and, you know, Instagram, you know, you're a star. So what are those essential components?
So the most essential component of brand identity is the promise. Your brand is your promise to your consumer. So that promise. So for example, when we look, you know, using big names like a Nike, their slogan is just do it. And so their promise to you is to deliver, whether it's in philanthropy, whether it's in messaging, whether it's in product, to just do it. They also deliver a vision that you can do it with their products and that they're with you in everything that you do, whether it's physical, whether it's expression. And so they cling to their promise of delivering on that mission. It's funny because there's people who say, you know, you want to be YouTube or social media popular, but what makes those brand identity is the promise on what you can get from chiming in to a podcast in the morning. That promise of that soup for my soul in that morning. I'm looking for my sermon in that morning. I'm looking for my message. I'm looking for my healing in that moment. So it's really identifying what we call the why that makes them cry, right? It's identifying, saying that, okay, I sell coffee, not just because it's an energizing beverage and it gets your morning started, but it's the promise that I can't get my day started without your cup of coffee. Okay, so the notion that I can't live without this cup of coffee. And why? When I drink this coffee, it makes me feel like I'm on the beaches of Montego Bay, or when I drink this coffee, it reminds me of being home in Colombia. Those are deeper emotional attachments of the why. And so it's the promise that you're delivering to your customer that is the life and the identity of a brand.
I need everyone to type that in. The why that makes them cry, girl. Yeah. That right there, I'm gonna have to tweet that one out. I love why that makes them cry. They just have to have it. Now that right there is a mic drop. Like somebody can walk away with that because it makes you reimagine what you are thinking about, right? When you say the why, because we can have our own idea of what we want to give the market, but we should be giving the people what they're asking for. So that was huge. All right, Brendan, we popped.
And you know, I just want to build on that because what you're saying, what I hear you saying, Brendez, is it's about also the emotion, but then we also are hearing now about experience, right? And what is the customer experience that you are creating, right? So that's part of creating a memorable brand. And what we haven't touched upon, which I want you, when you answer, please, the next question is really about you creating a competitive advantage. You know, it's about delivering on that promise, but doing it in such a way that you can separate yourself in your particular market from how other people are doing it. So how do you create a memorable brand? Like, how do you do that?
How do you do this? So when it comes to being memorable, it's about being unique and true and authentic to your voice. So when you have, whether it's your hairstylist or whether it's a brand of hair gel that you use to achieve this hairstyle that you want, there's a level of commitment that you deliver on. By delivering it in a specific tone, or whether it's, you know, some people like loud personality. She reminds me of my auntie. And when my aunt does my hair, I feel like, okay, I can get this done. Or delivering on the things that you believe your community needs. I've seen hairstylists now offer wash day playlists, so you can listen to music that makes you want to get this wash day done. So it's really chiming
to that one.
It's really on chiming in what you know your community wants and delivering it in the tone and voice that they want it, as well as the medium that they want it, right? Some prefer to watch a video and pop open their computer and get a full tutorial. Some are just clinging to their phones. Some are downloading things to look for at later when they're with their children and they want to achieve a new hairstyle. But deciding how you want to deliver that information, knowing how to communicate. Some people like to get a tip via text. Some people are religious to a morning email, and so to get those tips on how to make sure that your curls are looking the way that you want them to look that morning. Being a thought leader, when you're a brand essentially, and being memorable and being engaging, your audience is considering you a thought leader and an expert in that space. So if you have a cleaning business, you may not be going into the homes of as you typically would to perform your cleaning service, but at this time, your audience may be looking on tips on how to do it themselves. How can I clean these crevices in my home that I've in a new way? With what I have at home and there's no Lysol, how can I make my own hand sanitizer? So being a thought leader and learning how to continue delivering that language in a tone that your audience recognize in a way that is welcoming and easy to get to them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Stacie, I want to just jump in again and say, what I find with business owners, and they don't even realize it, is that oftentimes when they're starting their business, they're throwing mud up against the wall. They haven't really identified who is the right customer for their product or service. And so therefore their messaging is very diluted. And so I usually say, if you're speaking to everybody, you're not speaking to anybody, because you really can't have a message that resonates with a particular customer if you're not quite sure who that customer is, your target market, and really have a really intimate understanding of what their problems are and and how you can solve it. So I think that's really important.
That's huge.
It is huge. All of those are actually, to your point, all of those things lead into broad dialogue, but the most successful brands are the ones who decide to zone in on one thing, even if zoning in on particular colors or particular tone, because it invokes and it speaks to a specific genre. But the beautiful thing about consistent marketing each audience is that it will naturally grow exponentially with that database. And it's, the best brands are quality over quantity. So don't look at the numbers, go for impact.
That's huge, because I was real disobedient in the beginning with identifying my niche. I did the opposite of what Danielle just said. I said, if you had a pulse and you were in 1 foot of me, my audience, right? And that was like the wrong thing to do. And it delayed progress. But as soon as I identified my niche, they heard me. They're like, hey, girl, where you been? We've been waiting for you. So you really have to take that into consideration. To Danielle's point, the clearer you are on what your service or your product and who your service and your product are here for, the easier it is to organically just grow and build your brand. So that's awesome. So speaking of that, when you're building your business brand, you also have a personal brand, right? Because everybody now is mixing the two. So how do they complement each other? Should they complement each other? Should you keep it separate and apart? Like, how do we balance this personal brand and our business brand?
So, there are a lot of unique ways to differentiate as well as leverage your personal brand. I like to speak to two audiences of women. Some are my 9-to-5ers by day, and by 5 to 9, they're running an entrepreneurial business. And then there's some who are entrepreneurs 24/7. And so I hear my 9-to-5ers when they want to separate their brand. And with that, there's beautiful ways to deliver on that through tone and removing yourself physically from the brand, even using animation and color and just being consistent in language, never having to use your brand. I think a great example of someone who did that was Jill Scott. Jill Scott, when she originally came out by voice, but no one knew what she looked like. And once she came out, we immediately accepted and received her because her music and her messaging had already put together a community of people that were looking for her image, right? Or looking for who she was going to be. When it comes to your personal brand, I think the awesome thing about this social media world is that people want the story. People want to know the blood, sweat, and tears, and the closer they can feel to being a part of your journey allows them to invest in you in a different type of way, beyond a click or making a purchase. They're now invested in your health. They're invested in your family. They're invested on the good days that your business is doing well. They're invested in the struggle, and so there's a connection there that just really amplifies the kind of productivity you can get out of your brand if you are willing to let your hair down and open up your consumers to your personal journey. There's so many ways to deliver that personal journey, especially through social media visually. Email marketing is a great way. Blogging is a great way. Vlogging. So with all of these new digital components, it behooves you as a personal brand to really open up and be vulnerable and allow your customers to fall in love with you.
So, and how does one do that? Like you mentioned about the cleaning business, right? And so it's easier depending upon the type of business you have. You know, Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant, she's known for being the motivator and, you know, faithpreneur, right? And so it becomes much easier for her to really have that type of conversation and open up and be intimate with her customer base. But you may have someone else who is like a janitor, which is a dry business. I mean, not that you can't make money as a janitor, but it's like, how do you still have that connection? And maybe, I don't know, maybe your personal brand is not as important as a Dr. Stacie N.C. Grant, but nevertheless, I still pose to you, how can you balance that? What does that look like?
So, you know, we're living in a very interesting time, right? And so with COVID and essentially, this is what I'm calling the conversion era. When when everything went into shutdown, March of this year, we definitely went into a space where everyone needed to upload everything onto the internet. It's just where we're going to live once this is all said and done, right? Upwork did a really great study in 2017 where they asked a number of corporations how much of the workforce were going to be freelancer in 10 years, in a decade, right? And at that time, the workforce was 80% 9-to-5ers and 20% freelancers. And all of the corporations had essentially averaged that in 10 years, 50% of that 80% were going to become freelancers, making it 65%, and that we'd be shifting into 35% 9-to-5ers. With the pandemic, that has now been expedited, and that number is looking like 2023. So in 3 years, potentially the entire 9-to-5er workship is going to hit over the 50% mark, and you're going to be a freelancer. This is where your digital presence is important. Having a landing page, having a web page, essentially is your virtual address in the digital world. Okay, having a web page is your digital storefront to your store. It is how people are entering the front of your store, whether it's on Guy Brewer or whether it's on Saks Fifth Avenue, by having a web address. And so there are compelling ways to share your story online so that you're employable and so that you can find new partners and that you can find new customers, right? When you're having these conversations online, new businesses are being birthed every day, and your partner may not be someone you know right now. But if you're using Facebook and if you're putting it in the universe on LinkedIn, these are my skills, this is what I'm looking to build, you're going to find that other people with their digital storefront, it's easy to navigate who they are as a person, what their beliefs are, their work ethic, how long they've been in this industry. So you can make a compelling story about a plumber if there's a page to find him. Most employers deny applicants who don't have some place of a compiling of who they are because you're finding these scattered negative remarks. But if you can control your narrative by having a digital profile, resume, or landing page, you are really taking control of what you look like in the world.
That is good. And something you said just also triggered the fact that as you take control of this space, and that's probably another show, then people start spamming and cloning your account and doing all of those situations. So we were going to talk later on in our series about cybersecurity. And then once you have this digital footprint, how do you protect it? But as we talk about these business owners and these essential things that they're doing to establish this memorable brand, time and money might be limited. So what can these MWBE businesses that we work with do with limited time and money?
with limited time and money, fortunately, during this time, there are a lot of services that are being rendered for free or deeply discounted. And so there are opportunities to take advantage of certifications that weren't presently available, or they're being deeply discounted. And so if you have the opportunity to make that investment in yourself, whether it's the time or the discounted rate, I would say go for it. I know, I have a girlfriend who's completed about 3 certifications. Cvent has the opportunity to learn their Cvent platform and event management certification. Diversity and inclusion is definitely going to be a lane, and I know that's a whole nother TED Talk. But these are some things that you can do. There are also a number of free resources. And so considering that I work with a number of organizations, there's a lot of grant money out there. There are platforms where people are offering up services. I even have the opportunity, and should anyone be interested, to offer a free website for 2 years by way of GoDaddy. And through this program, you're getting a free website, free email marketing. You're learning how to conduct a Shark Tank business analysis and zone in on branding and choosing a domain name. And that's free for 2 years. Now, these things come out, and unfortunately, sometimes we don't jump on them. That's a $1,400 discount for 2. That's $2,800 in your pocket. Now, I will easily say that's the investment that you need to make in self so that you can get that e-commerce store off the ground, or if you can get that vision off the ground. But take advantage of those free items. Some websites like Wix, Squarespace, I'm not here to promote any particular brand, do offer a free trial or a limited template just to get a landing page, and that's all you need to get rolling and to get started. It costs little to nothing. In many ways, nothing to accrue subscribers and start to collect the data of your audience. And whether that's, hey, this is Susan's Bakery launching in 2021, be the first to know when we hit go. First name, last name, email. You can spend 6 months collecting data ready for your launch, right? So Instagram, very visual. You don't have to be a photographer collecting photos. You can use the web to find inspiration photos and use that to start to build out the language of what you want to convey to your consumers. These are all free tools. Building a community in Facebook. You can start there. Build a community wrapped around the idea of your product and socialize it and test things out. Hey, family, does this work? Do you like these colors? Should I go with this logo? And you're already starting to begin the conversation in the audience who is investing in you building this brand, and you're building it together. So these are free ways to do that.
And that is, you already started to discuss, which we want to kind of build upon. How could you be engaged with your customer base, right? How do you stay top of mind? You even mentioned about Jill Scott and how she built that community without even showing her face. So it takes a little bit, it's part art, part science. It's you being creative and thinking about ways of how you want to connect and build that relationship with your customers. But it's also about some of the things that you just mentioned. So what are some things that business owners can do, especially when they want to, again, demonstrate their subject matter expertise, provide solutions, and also build community? I know you gave us some things and we appreciate it, but is there a couple more things that people could start formulating in their mind they could do?
So when it comes to building community, it's really about testing the market and just go and speaking directly to your customer, right? No matter what the feedback is, because all of the feedback is constructive. And, if all the times you hear a failure, it's 100 ways it won't work, but it leads you to the way it will work, right? And so you can do like Instagram. Instagram has polls. Instagram allows you to drop questions. You can do the same thing in Facebook community. You can do the same thing on LinkedIn. It's really about first identifying what lane and what language you're looking to speak. Are you speaking to family and friends on Facebook? Are you speaking to your colleagues in the LinkedIn world? Are you speaking to enthusiasts on Instagram? Are you speaking to artisans on Etsy? And so first identifying who's the audience, where will I most likely find them, and then beginning the test questions there. And that's how you start engagement. And that can begin at the infancy stage. You can just say, hey guys, I woke up this morning in the spirit. I have this crazy idea. What you think? That's the beginning of of dropping this new invention that no one anticipated, and everyone is tweaking with you and helping you really mold it into the best product. Hey guys, next week is going to be launch day. Will you be there with me? And then you can get them into your crowdsourcing campaign, or you can let them know, hey guys, the loan didn't come through, but this came through. Thank God I got this grant. They're all a part of that. So that emotional attachment, that story, that time investment, all of that converts when you're looking to now say, okay, we're going to this festival, or you're able to meet a new partner and leverage partnerships, because now you have control of your community because you have engaged your community, and beyond just developing that circle of, or that safe space to connect, deciding how you're going to deliver the bite-sized information. And so whether that's a morning email, or whether that's the consistency of a quarterly email. I know from my hair brand, I get text messages, and it's poignant. It's great. It's bite-sized. It's like, hey girl, it's wash day. What are you doing? Hey girl, this new I know the world is upside down, but here's 25% off the gel. All of those things feed into my engagement. And so I love this entrepreneur. I follow her brand, and I'm invested in growing with her, and people want to feel it. That's what it really means to be a household name, right? I feel like the brands are my girlfriends and my guy friends who are looking out for me, and so my money goes to them.
That's a great point. I mean, this is just so juicy, but we also want to give a chance for our special guests to join us and get some additional coaching, which will probably fold in some of the additional questions. You've kind of touched on some of the things that Danielle and I were talking about, like, let's get Brenda to talk about that and to focus on this information, because we really want MWBEs to understand the importance of a brand and how to leverage all the things that you've been saying. And then some people might not be MWBEs yet, but they want to, right? So this is all the information we're giving on the show. So I'm about to bring her on. This is in transparency, a good friend of mine for years, one of my oldest and dearest friends. We went to college together, and she has launched her brand, and we're going to unmute your mic, Lise. And I'm just so glad that she's here, because I'm always ripping and running and doing. And I love to see when people are living their dreams. If you know anything about me, it's action, despite the distraction. So in the building of a brand and doing the things that you need to do, there's sometimes where you need that additional help. And we're going to bring in a different, there she is. We're going to give her some help today, Brendez, because Lisa has I'll let her describe her brand, but it's called Hello Healing. And she's in the midst of sharing this with the world. She's figuring out how to connect with an audience. It's a powerful story. Of course, I'm openly biased because I love her, and I'm just so proud of how she's overcome so much in life, and I'm going to let her share that. But Brendez, you being able to give her some pointers in real time, not only will help Lisa Sealy, but it'll also help those who are listening that are like, that MSWineglass sounds real good, but I don't know where to start, and I need some help. So we want them to get deliverance today. So Lisa, welcome to From the Ground Up, real time issues and real-time solutions. We are glad that you're here. So tell us a little bit about Hello Healing so that MSWineglass can understand what you're doing. And then what are your questions? You've been listening to this dialogue, and what are the things that are concerning to you?
Okay, good morning, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Good morning,
Stacie. My company's Hello Healing, and it was formed basically out of a necessity for me to get over a healing process of a series of several things that happened to me, traumatic events that happened to me in my adult life. And I knew that I wasn't the only one that was going through that. And I wanted to be able to use my experiences to help other people get past those same kind of hurdles. And it's for women mostly, but I do, I have one male client. But I find that in this day and time, I thought that people would be very apt, because what's going on in the world, to use my services. But I find that still people are not so confident in attacking mental health issues, trying to build themselves. They think it's, maybe not real. They're not so confident in speaking to a stranger about, building themselves. So what I'm trying to do at this point is just create a friendship, if you will, with my audience, so they could trust me, so they could possibly be able to use me for, to help them get to a better place. So the company Hello Healing is for us to basically say, goodbye to, all the terrible things that happen to us and say hello to healing. So that's where I am right now. I'm just kind of stuck in, these terrible algorithms on social media. And it's kind of like a catch-22. To get to the next level, the powers that be, they want to know how many followers you have. They want to know what you have, but it's really hard for me to get to the next place. I was married to an NBA player. So a lot of people have this preconceived notion of who I am. They don't think that I really need to work. And this is a lot of factors that go into it. So I'm kind of just like stuck in a place. How do I brand myself further to get to the next level? Because I find that, like, honestly, to be honest, if I put up a picture of myself, a pretty shot, I get lots of following. If I put up a quote about healing, it's like, yeah, thanks. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult to try to, pull people in and convert those followers actually into clients.
Absolutely. So I hear your story. There's a couple of questions that jump out at me about how you want to deliver what you're looking to hear. And I first want to just commend you and thank you for attempting to create a safe space, because it's not easy to try to commit a safe space amongst so much chaos.
Mm.
And we have to allow ourselves a little bit of grace this year. So don't beat yourself up on what you think should happen and how people respond. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about your product and your service is, in your story, do you feel that you have successfully said hello to healing yet? Have you done it yourself?
No, but see, this is the thing. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like a lot of the self-help people, they seem intangible. And so for me, what I wanted to do is be the person that's going to walk with you along your journey. I'm not totally there, but we can do it together. So I wanted to have a different play on it, that, I'm better than I was a year ago, but we all have room to grow and learn and heal. Actually, there's so many things that we can grow from. So I would say no, but kind of, if that makes sense.
Okay, no, that's fair, but that's definitely going to speak to how you're going to be addressing your safe space audience and this family that you're creating right now. The next we're gonna have to look at is how do you plan on delivering this healing? I know you shared that you have a personal story that you're trying to separate yourself from. How much of how much of yourself do you want to put into it? It sounds like you're all 10 toes, 10 fingers, because you're using an encouragement voice and you're acting as a partner. So that's the voice that you're leading with, and that's the tone that you want to give when you're delivering your information, whether it's visually stimulating on IG or whether it's in the community. You want to lead by throwing yourself into it and pointing yourself as the example, so that the family can learn from you. So it's kind of like you're playing Jesus, in your brand in this way. You're leading your disciples, but they're looking for your example, right? And so not to get all spiritual, but it's just an example of what this kind of community looks like, and understanding your position with your brand. Now, when I also think about the how, you share that, you can put up a inspirational quote and it may not get so much buzz, but then you put up a picture of yourself and there's all this testimony. So that's an answer. If you're comfortable with the testimony of a picture of you, put a picture of yourself. Today's a great day. I feel healed. What does Superwoman look like? And use yourself as that example, because that's the kind of content that your family seems to really, really appreciate. Now, when you're sending an encouraging message, whether it be a quote by someone that you respect or someone who has been successful, or, and to your point, has said hello to healing. Maybe you're highlighting women that have said hello to healing, and there are Woman Crush Wednesday. That's a brand, that's a branding, and that's a promise, and that's something that your family can look forward to. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, I don't want you to feel like you should have all the answers, because you're not. And the reality is, in your network, you need to respect and acknowledge who the universe has showing up for you to be your brand manager. because when it comes to creative people, I love to let artists be artists. They're meant to create. It's hard to bog them down with the business and the strategy and the mathematical gymnastics that it takes to understand analytics. And so that's where I behoove you and encourage you to find someone who already believes in you, has this skill set, and wants to jump on and be a partner. Okay, I'm not going to, I want to tell you these are things you want to do, but I'm not forcing this role onto you because you're the creative. And you're also going through this healing. And part of your healing may not be lifting up the weight of getting this business work done. That could be a reality for you, right? So if you ever need me as help, or if you need point and direction as a social broker, that's what I do. I'm very good at connecting people with the organizations and the resources that they need to optimize and leverage their business. So I really want to get a grasp and understanding of what your is it a product? Do you have an app platform? Do women log in and there's a sense of community and they're tracking their success to saying hello to healing and stepping away and saying goodbye? How do you have an annual funeral for your feelings? What does healing look like? What is the process? What are the do-it-yourselves?
Wait. Miss Wineglass, hold on. Wait. Annual funeral.
Yes.
Barrel through all these nuts.
I'm gonna take that.
What does this journey look like? When it comes to healing, self-care Sundays. Do you have an opportunity to share, do it yourself things at home that help us soak our feet? Remember to meditate. And this is how you do it. So maybe that looks like a video with you in it because your audience loves you on the screen. Maybe it means empowering other women to kind of produce those videos with you, and you're sharing in community how we yoga, how we soak our feet, how we meditate, how we make our ginger lemon turmeric tea, whatever that healing, so really, create a level of consistent language with your social media. Look at the 7 days in a week. Look at what days you can commit to being consistent, and start there with your family. Start small and be consistent. Consistency is one of the top three. I want to say it's number one because not every brand is extremely fabulous, but the consistent ones live out the test of time. When you're going through hell, they say just keep going. No matter what is happening, you just keep going, but you never shut the button off. There's too many times I didn't start a business as soon as I thought I could because someone was holding me back. And there's times I've wanted to quit and I never stopped. And that's the only way to allow your business to stay afloat, is to you yourself can't give up. But sure, understand, look at your time commitment and calibrate it on how you plan on delivering that message. If in a month's time, you can commit 2 days out of week, knock them out the park twice a week with the information you have.
I follow this other person who is a social media kind of content person. I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is, but he said you should inundate your audience with content. So I struggle with that because I don't want them to be like, oh, she's putting another post up. So I try to put 3 a day. The pillars of my company are faith. And those are the things that help me get through. And I'm sharing those. So it's faith, friends, finance, fitness, and fun. So of my posts, those would be the things that I would attack on any given day. And I try to do 3 posts a day. And food is eat healthy. So that's part of it. You have to be healed and healthy inside and to be able to have that on the outside. So I do what you say, but I also don't want people to be like, oh, here she goes again with another post. So it's very difficult to try to find the right amount to put on there. And then I said, once again, I get a lot of messages and I try to post them without putting the person's name up to say I'm inspirational. But how do I turn that inspirational DM to me into that person saying, I would like to have your help privately to help me? Because if I'm giving all this content online, which I don't have a problem, but I'm not able to convert it to a paying client.
So I just wanted to, when you were sharing that, wanted to understand for yourself, are you meant to be inspirational, or are you looking to call action? Are you looking for women to create, to look for you to be a community of practice, or are you a community of inspiration?
I think I'm both, though. I think that me personally, I'm inspirational because if you know my story, then you would see how far I've come. and what I've been through to be standing and the son that I raised and all that. And and anything is possible. And then through that, because I've had people like just say things that are just really kind of absurd, like, I can't believe that happened to you. Like, anything can happen to anybody. And so I think that trying to just be the model and then help them through practice get to where at least I am at this point, and then we can continue on the journey. So it's kind of a combo. And then what I'm not an expert in, I have partners that come in and help me with certain things that I'm not a nutrition expert, but I have someone on my team that will help me with that. I have an emotional intelligence expert. I have different people that I'm not, qualified to speak on in a more in-depth way, but those people are on my team to help as well.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to squeeze a little technology in. For me, wherever I have an opportunity to use a new tool, I do. And so if, when it comes, first I'm going to ask you, what platforms are you using to build out your audience and engage?
What do you mean in terms of like what?
What social media platforms are you using? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
I'm mostly Instagram.
Okay.
But I do have Facebook. I do have a Twitter. I have everything, but I don't engage in all of them because, to be honest, I'm not tech savvy. So a lot of it is just like, I don't even know. I have a Twitter, but I've never posted from my company on Twitter. I just got it because I didn't want anybody else to take the name of my company.
Okay, so as far as intellectual property goes, great swoop. If you have a brand name across all platforms, whether or not you're going to use them, go grab the name. I will say that. But what I will also say is you don't need to use all platforms either. That's not how you have to engage. It sounds like you're more inspirational and action than anything, and so it sounds like you're meant to live on Instagram. You could couple that very nicely with Facebook, but I would say start with Instagram. And when it comes to Instagram, this is the very image worthy and image heavy platform. So when you're thinking about inspiration and when you're talking about fitness and fun, you need extremely compelling photos. When it comes to Instagram, when you're saying I have to keep up with putting up content, don't feel like you have to write a blog post or a bibliography every single day. That is not what you need to do. You can actually curate by taking inspiration of things that you already like and repurposing that information so that it doesn't become overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't, considering what you're looking to do, you don't need to be in a LinkedIn space talking about the healing community unless you were looking to do partnership with maybe a retreat in Colorado and you're going to take your community up, right? So essentially, yeah, I would say tune in, really zone in on amplifying your Instagram. That seems to be your inspirational and living engagement space. I think it'll be easier to manage. There are a number of social media management tools that can kind of help you ease up this tension that you feel in trying to schedule. But then again, you are the creative person, and the vein of your business is in healing. We are going through traumatic time, and so you may want to take that burden off of your shoulder. If you're in the empathy, go ahead, Stace.
I'm gonna let you finish that line, but we have some comments in the chat that I just want to share that I think impact what you're saying, and everyone's loving this spot laser coaching that we're doing with Lisa today. So finish your thought, and I'm gonna just share some of those comments.
Yes. So for me, I just wanted to tell you this, it looks like your lane is Instagram. Look to be inspirational. And when you're thinking about a platform like Instagram, in order to take advantage of it, is compelling photos. If you want to make an investment in photography or finding really, really compelling photos, that's a great way to leverage the platform for what it's known for. Right. But beyond that, being able to schedule using tools like a Hootsuite or a later Instagram, that you can carve out a social media Sunday where you commit an hour to just programming your week and hit set it and forget it. But that seems to be, that would be my suggestion for you, lightly what you shared about engaging your community.
Thank you.
That's great information, Ms. Wineglass. So Valerie Stevens said, what methodologies are you using for healing, Lisa? And she said that, Brendez, maybe you could suggest 2 a day in her posting, 1 in the morning to start your day, 1 at night to close your day. And would that help with starting a conversation with your audience? What do you think? And maybe using Twitter for quotes. So those are some good pointers. And you can feel free to either answer that, Lisa, or expand on that, Ms. Wineglass. And Patricia, thank you for tuning in. And Rolanda, we appreciate you being there. So everybody's engaged in this conversation because we all have to stay relative. You know, if I love Progressive's commercials. Like, I think they've been the most creative in pivoting, even in the commercial space, whether you have Progressive insurance or not. Everybody knows about Progressive because they've been really creative in reaching and touching their audience and proving that they've been here pre-COVID, during COVID, and they plan to be here post-COVID. And I think that's a lesson for all of our businesses to learn, you know, that value that people feel connected and they want to stay with you. So those are just some options. I know that we could be here all day. This is just amazing. Miss Wineglass, girl. You're
welcome. Absolutely. So to answer Valerie's post, you know, I definitely spoke to consistency. Creating a rhythm with your audience is key. You know, I spoke about your brand is your promise to your customers. So if every Monday morning I can count on that Monday morning inspirational quote from you, I'm going to look for it and I'm going to make it shareable. And so that's what I meant by really leveraging Instagram. Instagram is not just about saying I need to pour my guts out and tell you what to do and give you all this action and you're going to be successful by the end of the night. It's about giving a piece of content that's shareable. Is it attractive? Does it look good? I gotta hit share. I gotta put this up, forward this to my stories. That is the kind of content. So make it compelling, make it beautiful, make it art. Be very creative with it. But to Valerie's point, yes, create a rhythm of consistency with your consumers. If every Wednesday they can count on seeing a highlight of a woman crush Wednesday, and you highlight and crush on that woman that reflects your inspiration. You know, she said hello to healing goals, you know, taking all of that lingo and the soliloquies we use and speak to them the way they want to be spoken to, use the language that you're using in your community. You know, like I shared softly as an idea, when you're having that annual funeral, make that a campaign, make it a big on March that every girl will write down everything that you are going to say goodbye to, because on this date, which could easily be the day that you launch or your annual anniversary, is the day that we decide we're saying goodbye to something and we're saying hello to healing in this way, and whatever that celebration really, really looks like. So create that rhythm and keep it consistent. Patricia says, I was looking for the next question. Faith, family, fitness, and fun. Yeah, those are great points. Those are great points and great pillars. There's just so much you can do with that when it comes to family. I mean, what's more emotional than the people that you love, right? And so just acknowledging healing and what that looks like for family, posing the difficult questions, just throwing the difficult questions that we're all thinking, but providing an answer. Even if it's your real answer, your unperfect answer, because your audience is looking for that vulnerability so that they can say, yeah, here's my bad story too. And now you guys are having this digital funeral because you're throwing your guts out and you're all healing and heart emojis are going wild. And this is how I see your brand growing. So I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you so much. I mean, I am pretty consistent. I just recently delved into like the live Instagram. So I think that's also important probably for me to do a lot more like interaction with my audience, but I wasn't so comfortable doing it, but now I know that I need to. So going forward, it says a lot of things and it's just like a lot to lay out at one time, like developing a product and then a book. It's just a lot, the podcast, it's just a lot of things for a new business to engulf upon at one time. So it's difficult, and it's just been a lot, and especially with everything's going on.
Well, you didn't share with me so when you delivered on the product, you shared that you have a platform saying Hello Healing, but you didn't let me know you had a podcast when it came to your content produced and things. So I see you're this octopus of healing right now, but where did you gotta start on in one space. But if you want to start here, this is a heavy lift. I'm gonna recommend Sisters in Healing.
Okay. You recommend it?
I want to challenge you to find two sisters in healing who want to help you with this dialogue. The beautiful thing about your community is that there's someone who wants to start this same business that you have right now, and they're having issues. And there's probably 2 or 3 or 5 women you can think of or out there. And there's so much beauty in collaboration, seeing a group of women or a conglomerate of women build that community together. It's also a great way to leverage social media, because now your brand is left on the shoulders of you individually and your brand. But if you had 4 women, that's 4 personal profiles amplifying the same goal. And so the growth is exponential.
Do you mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, do you mean like
so no,
or just like because in practice, like I have different people who I like, so for the podcast, we didn't air it because everything started to happen, but I have different women and we talk about different issues that they've healed from. It's not just like a breakup or divorce. It's healing from cancer. It's healing from job loss. It's a lot of different things, and it's different people. Some of them are my celebrity friends who that was going to roll out in the podcast. So, but I'm confused. Are you saying partner in that sense, or partner in sense like partner with Hello Healing, like they're part of their business partners?
No, for Hello Healing.
Okay.
Yeah. Are they managing partners of your business? Because there's so much going on here that if you had 4 brains on the same product, and so someone can lead on the social media strategy, someone can lead on the podcast delivery and curating the conversations that come from the powerful women in the network that the 4 women bring together. If someone can lead on merchandise, if someone could, you see, so now that, because you have a heavy list, I'm listening to your story, and this healing project is getting bigger and bigger, and that's beautiful and great. But I want you to also be realistic in your capacity and realistic in your impact, because that's what matters most. Your promise, and you want it to convert the impact. That through all the things you've shared with me so far, you're concerned about translation. You're putting in all this work, but it needs to convert. And the only way that's going to happen is having a solid strategic business plan. And so hustle without strategy is just hustle. And I love your hustle. It's passionate. It's beautiful. It's relevant. It's real. But I don't want you to get burned out in the process of trying to build this mansion. Okay. So that's my 2 cents on that. And I look forward to whatever you have coming down the pipeline.
Thank you.
Well, Austin, this is, I mean, Danielle and I could go for another couple of hours on this conversation because it's relevant, right? This is real-time issues. The issues are businesses need to know how to brand. They need to know the components of the brand, what's important about what you just said. Hustle without strategy is just hustle. Hello, somebody needs to tweet that right now. So the fact that we're giving these real-time solutions in this moment, we really hope that you have shared this with someone. You let them know that we're building this from the ground up show as an example of collaboration. It's 3 businesses that comprise Queen Strategy. We all have our individual brands. We're all doing great and wonderful things, but we said, how much powerful would it be if we all came together, and we came together in a space where we know there is a need and we're speaking to the market. And this show is an example of that. So Ms. Wineglass, thank you, girl, for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Girl magic. Lisa, I hope and pray this was a blessing to you to think about some things. And I'm excited to hear that you're doing lives. People want to know who you are, right? I didn't always build social media right. God knows I probably did it wrong 1,000,001 times, but I'm me. So either you love me or you hate me. Like, it is what it is. But people appreciate who you are and your authenticity, because they should be seeing the same person you are on camera is the same person you are off camera. And Danielle knows I'm a piece of work on camera and off camera, and she still loves me. So, that's the beauty of working together and being able to add our value to the world. So thank you, Valerie. She was putting in some extra comments. Patricia wants to connect with you, Lisa. She has something similar with faith, fund, and finances. And that's what we want to see. At the end of the day, we want everybody to thrive post-COVID-19 and post all of the racial injustice that we're seeing in the world that is going to impact our communities and MWBE businesses dramatically. So 2020, I think you said it's a conversion year, Ms. Weinglass. I'm going to steal some of them nuggets. I didn't use it the first time, but I'm going to use some of the why, make them cry, girl.
Yes.
This was a good show, but I'm going to let Danielle close us out as we wrap up our session from the ground up. This has been an amazing, amazing conversation, and I really pray that everybody has gotten great value from it.
So I just want to say, Lisa, I haven't had a chance to really say anything to you while we've been on this webinar, but I want to say thank you for being willing to be a testimonial in many different ways. One, to share your story about your healing. We didn't hear about it in detail, but you did tell your story in regards to why you started it and how you want to impact others. And you were a testimonial just in regards to our subject today, that you were willing to, say you need help and get the help that you need so that you can move your business forward. So I want to say kudos to you. Thank you so much for your openness and your transparency in multiple ways. And we want to say to the audience at large, we said our customer is minority women business enterprises, but we mean that not only in the literal sense, if you got certified as a minority women business enterprise, but we mean that in the spirit of being a minority woman business enterprise, trying to figure things out, how to pivot, how to reach your customers. Because guess what? Without customers, you're not in business. You have a hobby. And I believe one of our guests said that, a couple of webinars ago, but it's for real and it's true, because we definitely here to make things happen. So I want to say to you, join us, continue to come every Tuesday, 9:00, to get real-time solutions for your real-time issues. So we are excited about being on this journey with you. We will continue to provide great people, guests like MSWineglass. Guess who's going to be here next week? Miss Valerie Stevens. So be here next week, because you see she was giving little tips. She's going to give you even more tips next week. So be here. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Next week. Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
And stay in touch. Add MSWineglass on everything.
Okay, I will.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, Greta. Thank you, David. Thank you, Nana, for coming in. We appreciate you and your comments. And we'll be back. Queen Strategy Partners, we're making it happen. Bye-bye, everyone.